Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that you have about your health and fitness goals. Now, I did finally get a small tripod. I do have a taller one coming. There is not one tripod in this town. I don't know what the heck's going on. Last week, a bunch of you squawked that I looked funny, so it was because I had my phone propped up. I did a photo shoot 2 weeks ago in Portland and used my tripod at the hotel the night before, and then apparently left it there. So I got like a little tiny one perched precariously here, but I have another one coming. It's just going to take a week, so we will have it figured out. But welcome to fall, guys. I don't know about you. It is cold where I live. Hey, Olivia. And so I walked into the gym yesterday, or walked out of the house to go to the gym yesterday, and walked right back in the house and went, yeah, it is freezing. And I changed from just a jacket to a thinner jacket, but then a coat and a scarf. So it's just cold. It's just what it is. So today I have a really great question. You know, a lot of people come to me and they want to do certain things simultaneously when it comes to their goals, which honestly is not a bad idea. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that's not a bad idea. But, you know, the question really comes down to, should you lose fat first or should you build muscle first? And so, you know, it really comes down to each person's situation. You know, when I do coaching with people, it really comes down to very, very specific goals, because there's so many more variables there than just, you know, what should I do? You know, it really comes down to a lot of things with genetics and, you know, what your preferences are and what is your time, you know, the time that you have to accomplish these goals. What does your support look like? So there really is a lot that I take into consideration when I work with people. Plus, I really, for almost everybody, my biggest priority is, you know, can we do this in a safe and healthy way that really helps you build a lifestyle versus I have a wedding in 2 months, which by all means is a great goal and I'm willing to work with that. But this isn't about, can you accomplish, you know, dropping 30 pounds in a month and then go back to your bad habits? Like, it just doesn't work that way. So Olivia says it does not help that it went from 70 degrees to 45 degrees. I know. And we're complaining because I happen to know that Montana was like -7 this last weekend. Oh yeah, not into that. Fortunately, it's gonna actually be warm this weekend for Halloween, which never happens. But of course, then nothing's going on this year. So you know, kind of catch-22. But okay, so back to our topic. Should we build muscle first or should we lose fat? Now, let me just first say that technically you can kind of do both at the same time. We call it body recomposition. The problem being is if you are a very small person, you're really not recompositioning anything. You're not changing your composition, because what that means is if you tend to have a lot of extra fat storage on your body, your goal is to utilize that extra energy to then turn around and build muscle. And it's much easier to do if you tend to be overweight or more on the obese side and you have that extra fat stores on your body. That just even cleaning up your nutrition and then doing strength training, you can actually accomplish quite a bit. And that's predominantly when I work with people who have a long ways to go. That is what we do. Now, it's not necessarily absolutely necessary to build muscle at the same time. It's just beneficial. And we're going to talk about why that is in a second. And I look at it more as a ratio than just should I do one or the other. But when you try to do it from a standpoint where you're somebody who's a smaller person, you don't have a lot of fat stores, not saying, let's just take a super lean person who wants to build some muscle, but is kind of skinny fat. I know that's not a great term, but it's a thing. Yeah, you can. And again, you're going to have, if you have the fat stores to be able to do that, you absolutely can. Just realize that it might take you a little longer. Same thing as somebody who wants to do a lean gain period. That's really difficult because to do a lean gain, you have to eat super clean, and it's really difficult to get the amount of calories in that you need to get in order to grow at a lean pace, right? You have to do it. It's a very, very slow situation done over time. So it's very difficult to do both those things from a lean standpoint, to grow, but do it in a very, very lean, healthy way. It's possible. And I'm not saying that you should bulk and eat a bunch of garbage, because that's not the deal. It's just difficult to do. So again, it comes down to where you're starting from. What can you already do? What's your experience? What's your skill level when it comes to health and fitness? Realize I started in that situation. I started at 210 pounds, 46% body fat. That is obese. and I'm only 5'2". So, it was a huge struggle, but fortunately I had something on my side, those newbie gains of people who've never lifted before. So there's huge benefits there. However, that being said, there really is, research and data that shows that there's benefits to both, whether you choose to build muscle first or to lose fat first. There have been situations that I've worked with a client where they don't have enough strength, energy, and functionality to start lifting weights quite yet. I know that there's some minimal things that they can actually do body weight wise, but honestly, it really is about losing some weight. And we're going to talk about what the benefits and the disbenefits and all of that is. But, I have had certain situations where I'm like, let's just focus on cleaning up your nutrition so that you have energy and that you feel better and that you can function. And then as things happen, and maybe walk a little bit, because that's doable for everyone. And there's just not a downside to walking. Your lymph system does not have a pump. So even if you are just getting up and walking after a meal, there are huge benefits to that. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to kill yourself and sweat to death in order to make progress, especially if you're starting from zero, right? So, there are times where, we should lose fat first, and then we'll start adding some strength training. But strength training is good for everyone. So don't just think, well, I don't really want to be a bodybuilder. Why do I have to lift weights? Because there's not a downside to building strength. And the older we get, the more important that is. We forget that at some point we want to be independent and have a quality of life in those later years. And if we don't have strength, especially core strength, because that's where your balance comes from, you're not gonna make it. So keep those things in mind. It really isn't, yes, I work within the bodybuilding industry, but that is rarely people's goal. And that's okay. Like I laugh when people come to me and they go, well, I really want to be healthy. I don't really want to compete. And I'm like, well, I didn't think you wanted to. While I work with competitors, I love working with the average person that just needs a roadmap. I love what I do. I'm an educator. That is my strength. And that's what I went to school for initially. So I love to educate. That's why I do all this information for free. So I'm just reading the little things popping up. Olivia says it's harder to build muscle, I find, because I'm smaller. Actually, that's not true, honey. Actually, because you're shorter and you have smaller levers, it's actually easier to build size. You take my 6'3" husband who has really long arms and long legs. That's a bigger struggle because they have to build the size over the length of the lever. So, it is harder if you're not willing to eat the food. And I know that's a difficult one. So kind of a topic for another day, but keep that in mind that it's actually easier. You just have to lift heavy enough and you have to eat enough calories, healthy calories, and the right macros to support what your goals are. Okay, so we talked about body recomposition. That is taking, the energy stores that you may have on, stored in your body fat, and turning, using that for energy to help build muscle. Now, there's no automatic changeover. There's some definite biological things that have to happen within you, but it is an option. I've done it with multiple clients and with myself. So, excuse me. I do really like using body fat percentage as a metric versus the scale, especially if you are trying to build some muscle and to have some shape and some tone. That scale may not really move, but your body fat percentage will change drastically. So, you have to make sure that you're looking at the right thing as a tool of progress. Not just, I know we've gotten so dependent on the scale, which I think is so dumb. But, then again, look at what we're still being told is healthy. I shake my head and roll my eyes on a daily basis. I'm like, how are we still talking about this garbage? We know that these things aren't true. You should eat 60% of your meal in carbohydrates and it should be grains. And I'm like, no, that would be incorrect. So it just gets really, really frustrating. Okay. So anyway, there is data to support both options, whether you lose fat first or whether you build muscle first. I'm going to say there's probably more benefits to burning some of the fat first. But like I said, I don't see that it's exclusive. I really feel like it's a percentage, right? You may start out focusing more on losing body fat and then transition into building muscle. But remember that muscle is metabolically active. It raises your metabolism around the clock, not just when you do the activity, but even while you sleep. So I call it, muscle's a natural fat burner. It helps your body burn fat combined with a good nutrition plan, right? So keep that in mind, that it increases your metabolism. And that is a downside to, there's so many fallacies when it comes to how to burn fat. If you kind of look at just the basic biology of what they say, well, you just need to do cardio because cardio burns fat. Yeah, you got to be careful there, because if that's all you're doing, your body gets really good at the cardio really fast. Your body is good at adapting to it. And so, if you jump out of the starting gate and you're doing an hour of cardio every day, you literally have nowhere to go. I like to use cardio as a tool in order to get to a goal, and then wax and wane depending on what's going on. Also, if you are trying to burn fat or lose weight, whatever, by eating very, very low calorie diet, you have a problem. I talk a lot with my clients about the smaller the car, the smaller the gas tank. If you have 100 pounds to lose, you can't go on a 1,500 calorie diet. You are going to starve, and your body does not know the difference between a diet and starvation. Your metabolism will fall through the floor. If you watched any of the seasons of The Biggest Loser and then watched after the fact to what happened to these poor people, and the fact that they were not trained to do things in the right way, they basically ruin their metabolism. Now, not that it's not fixable, but there is something about, when your body is in starvation mode, that it learns something that it shouldn't, right? That, oh my God, I'm starving. I don't know when she's going to eat again. And it gets really good at storing because it doesn't know that you're not starving, you're dieting. So again, those people, unfortunately, even when they got back to a higher active level, their just basic, their basal metabolic rate, or their resting metabolic rate, was much lower than before they even started the program, which is kind of devastating, actually. So be careful that you are not starving yourself, because of course now and unfortunately, you're just going to burn calories, which can burn muscle, and that can be a problem. You're really kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage. So that can be a problem. But there are big advantages to choosing to lose the body fat first. Number one, it's motivating. When you actually feel that your clothing fit differently. I like pictures for my clients because I can side by side those puppies and I can show them where they're seeing the change, even if the scale isn't moving. That's motivating. It keeps people going. And, that initial drop is usually water, which is not a bad thing. But I think that just having that little bit of a change, they see that something's working. What I think is funny is that they're usually dropping despite the fact I'm feeding them so many calories, and they're going, oh my word, how is this even possible? I'm like, because you're not eating garbage. That's a huge part of it. You get better sleep as you start to burn body fat, especially if you are as a woman, if you're in the 30, 35 plus body percentage range, you probably struggle with a lot of things, low energy, probably some sleep issues. There's just really, you're definitely in a situation where you could be predisposed to some metabolic issues. And I really think that's a problem that we're having in this country right now. I really think it's a huge contributor to the situation with the pandemic. I really feel like this is Mother Nature's way of trying to get us to pay attention that we have a problem that has been building up for the last couple of decades with the chemicals and the garbage that's in our food. Your body can only handle that for so long before, you're in your 30s, 40s, and sometimes even earlier, and your body just starts to respond in a really negative way, and we can't figure out what's going on. Like, if you knew what was in your food, you would understand why your body is responding in the way that it does. So other benefits of choosing to lose the fat first: improved mood. If you really delve into it, because I love to read research and data, and huge nerd here, they look at some of the mental illnesses that are prevalent. First of all, it's increased immensely in percentage of people in the world, actually, not just the United States, that are now dealing with depression and mental health issues. If you don't eat the right ingredients that help your body build the chemicals and the hormones that your body needs, you obviously have a situation with depression and mood regulation, because your body it's not getting what it needs. It can't produce, the serotonin and the hormones. So again, because we are now all addicted to the standard American diet, and it's flabbergasting what people think is healthy. I don't care what that box says. If you have like 8, 9, 10 ingredients in it, if you have anything ending in ose, if you have canola oil, soybean oil, there's so much garbage in it. And then we can't figure out why normal, seemingly healthy people are completely depressed. It's because we're eating garbage. So it really contributes to I personally think all the issues that we're currently having, not just the pandemic, but the frustration, the anger. Granted, I know there's some other issues. I'm not saying that this is the only reason. I'm just saying that, especially when it comes to probably the low morale of the people around the country, around the world, I don't think the garbage that we are eating is benefiting us in any way in dealing with it. Hopefully that makes more sense. Other benefits to losing the fat first: better insulin sensitivity, more level blood sugar, of course, improved cholesterol, boosts energy, reduces stress on joints. So, there really is a benefit to starting there. Again, I think it depends on where you're starting, how much body fat you need to lose. Again, notice I didn't say weight because weight it doesn't detail enough information. So, that's that. Again, the muscle, I just, like I said, I think it's a percentage. If you're starting out where you have a good portion of, I'm going to say weight, but in general, we just have excess fat stores. You might need to start predominantly with the nutrition and really focusing on fat loss, moving a little bit more and doing it in a way that doesn't hurt you. You got to start somewhere, right? And all progress is progress. But then as you start to find the energy coming back and you feel better and you're having all these benefits that come with the fat loss, then you start to, and it doesn't have to be crazy heavy weights. Even if it's just body weight exercises to start with, there's going to be such huge benefits there. So I really think that it's a percentage depending on where you are in your goals and how far you have to go. So, the other thing is too, if you are truly eating for health, and for your goals, then you are eating enough of the right ingredients to achieve both of those. So I think it's absolutely possible. And honestly, it's simple, but it's not easy. And I think that that's a huge travesty because I know life is so busy and there's so much going on. And even for me, I feel like I'm pulled in a zillion ways. Fortunately, I feel like my nutrition is something that I no longer have to struggle over because I've already been at that end of the spectrum. I've already been obese. I've already struggled to understand how nutrition works. Not that I'm perfect, because I'm not immune to all that stuff. I still have my days. I still eat my feelings once in a while, but it's just one less thing that I have to think about. I already know I batch cook. I've got food in the fridge at all times that's healthy. I have plan A and plan B and plan C. It really does take some of the stress off my life when I've got a jillion other things going on, which, I do. That's kind of how I roll. So hopefully that helps you. There's no right or wrong answer for that. I really think it's based on where you want to go, what you want to do, and how far, how long it's going to take, how far you have to go to reach your goals. And remember that you're not just going to arrive there. Number one, it's a journey. You're really trying to find your groove, but it's also about building a lifestyle so that you can stay there once you get there. I think that's all I'm going to say about that tonight. So I hope you're having an incredible week. I know it is just crazy right now in the world. No offense, I'm going to just pop my bowl of popcorn, sit back this next week and a half, and watch the show. Yeah, that's all I got to say there. So have an incredible night, you guys. I get my very best ideas from you. If you have a question or something that you think that I should talk about, I know I have a couple of things that people have asked about that are coming up. I just had to schedule them weirdly. So don't worry if you've told me something and you haven't seen it. It's probably coming, but I do love ideas from you guys. I've had some really interesting questions lately and I love it. So have an incredible night, you guys. That is it. And we will see you next week for Q&A Wednesday. Have a good night.